In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at a few new functions added to the string object wrapper with ES6. These functions are available for testing strings, basically to see if a string contains a word, a character, and so forth. So we're going to take a look at ES6 functions that allow you to inspect strings. Now, in the past, we have had to use indexOf or lastIndexOf to test strings. These work fine, but when you're testing to see if something exists, these two functions are not intuitive nor as simple as they could be. So while we look at startsWith, endsWith, and includes, I'm also going to look at the equivalent code for indexOf and lastIndexOf. Now, this will work for any browsers that do not support these new functions that came with ES6. So these alternative techniques that I will include can be polyfills for startsWith, endsWith, and includes. Before we start looking at these new functions, let's first take a look at how they are supported by the different browsers. So here's the website that I use for checking to see what ES6 features are compatible with which browsers. And if you scroll down inside the string prototype methods, you can see the startsWith, endsWith, and includes functions. As you can see, the compilers and polyfills support those functions. i11 does not, but Edge does. Several versions of Firefox, several versions of Chrome, several versions of Safari all support. If you're planning to work in Node, the latest versions of Node supports these functions. However, there is not support in Android, but iOS does support. So that gives you an idea of what browsers would support these functions for when you plan to use them. All right, let's take a look at how we would use them. So I'm going to open the console. And first, I'm just going to show you a string variable that I've created. It contains the string, the cow jumped over the moon. So I'm going to use this string for all of these examples, both the ES6 functions and the older indexOf, lastIndexOf equivalents. So first off, how would I check to see, for example, if the word cow is in this string? Well, using the traditional method indexOf, I would do it like this. Because the purpose of indexOf and lastIndexOf is to return the location of the characters you enter within the string, we check to see if it's greater than a -1, because it would return a -1 if it were not found in the string. So if it's anything greater than a -1, we know it exists. So that allows us to see that true, yes, it exists inside that string. Now, as you're probably well aware, that's not completely intuitive and not as simple as it could be. Includes simplifies this quite a bit. We simply enter the string dot includes and then the characters we're looking for, and that returns true. If there is a word or phrase that does not exist, it would of course return a false. So much more intuitive and simpler to enter. Now, checking to see if a string starts with or ends with a particular character or a group of characters is a little bit more difficult using indexOf and lastIndexOf. But it's quite simple using startsWith and endsWith. So first, let's check startsWith. And let's see if this string starts with the. And yes, it does. Now, if we had a space before the letter T, it would return a false because it has to start with the exact set of characters that we enter. Now, the way we traditionally did this using indexOf is we would enter something like this. Since indexOf returns the position, that position should be equal to 0 if it's at the start of the string. And that returns true for us. Now, to check to see if the string ends with a word or a phrase or a character, let's say we wanted to check to see if it ends with moon, which it does because it returns a true. It's as simple as that. This is much trickier to figure out when you're using indexOf or lastIndexOf. There's actually two methods for doing that, and I'll show each one. The first one I'll use lastIndexOf to show. And remember, lastIndexOf is the same as indexOf. It simply starts at the end of the string to check for the position of whatever you enter, as opposed to the start of the string. So if I wanted to use lastIndexOf to see if the string ended with moon, period, I would see if that were equal to the length of the string minus 5. Now minus 5 because there's 5 characters in this word. So since lastIndexOf is returning the position of moon, period, then I would want to see if that's equal to the length of the string minus 5. And that way I could tell if it were at the end of that string. And that returns true. Now another technique, I'll use indexOf for this one, is this. You may or may not remember, but with indexOf and lastIndexOf, we can enter a second parameter. And that second parameter indicates the location within the string that we start looking, that we start searching. So it's going to check for moon starting at the character position string.length minus 5. And so that means this would have to be at the end of the string. So if that returns a -1, then we know that it's not at the end of the string. If it returns anything else, we know that it is. So we press return, and sure enough, that returns true as well. So it is possible to accomplish all of these with indexOf and lastIndexOf, but as you can see, they're not near as intuitive and not as simple to use. So when ES6 is supported, startsWith, endsWith, and includes are the best options to choose. I hope you found this helpful. If so, please like the video. You can view other videos from our channel by clicking the video link in the middle of the screen. You can subscribe to our channel by clicking the circle link on the left. We release new video tutorials every week. And you can visit our website where we have courses on JavaScript and other resources by clicking the link on the right. Thanks for watching.